Joan Quinn Profiles. As an editor for Andy Warhol's Interview, the Los Angeles Herald-Examiner, LA Style, and Detour magazines, Joan covered the social set, the Hollywood hotshots, the international art scene, the mysteries of food, the excitement of travel, and the fabulous world of fashion. Joan continues to find creative people on the cutting edge who make things happen. Here's Joan Quinn.
Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome to the Joan Quinn Profiles. We're here at Duke & Duke Gallery in West Hollywood, and Peter Schlesinger's sculpture is on the set today. Waiting to be profiled are video director Nico Sabenorio and artist Charles Christopher Hill. Award-winning director Nico Sabenorio was born and raised in Hayward, California, went to Carlmont High School, and as he says, a few junior colleges, but he spent a year at NYU in the Tisch Center. He continues to be nominated at the MTV Video Awards for his documentaries with a message. He's working with PSA campaigns for the Medicine Abuse Project. It's actually a medicine abuse project. How did you hook up with those people?
For Drug Free America?
Yeah. It's called Drug Free America, but they're changing it, right?
Well, no, the company is partnership@drugfree.org. It used to be called Partnership for Drug Free America.
Okay.
But they didn't want it to feel government sponsored.
Right.
So,
is that why?
Yeah, so this feels more
open to everyone?
Yeah.
I wondered why they changed it, because Drug Free America sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, and it's a brand everyone knows, so,
yeah.
You know, but they've made the shift. And the Medicine Abuse Project is it's one of the many things that they're pursuing.
And what is it, medicine abuse?
It's an ad campaign, or PSA campaign, and documentary, and an installation in Grand Central Station, all targeted on teaching parents and kids about the dangers of prescription drug abuse.
So it's like going into the cabinets, into the medicine cabinets, and taking whatever they find in there, and using them or abusing them?
FDA-approved products that seem harmless that can stop your breathing.
And do they write the material for you? How do you make that ad?
This one and the crystal meth one that I did last year were completely documentary style. So they would help us. They supplied a lot of the contacts and the people that we would find to interview and pre-interview. And then it was kind of on me and the rest of the crew to make phone calls and do research and figure out whose stories fit the message they're trying to tell and kind of narrow it down. It's kind of a long process, a lot of phone calls, a lot of research, and then eventually you get the people whose stories work, and then you make the documentaries around that. And then
you do something that lasts 90 seconds. Yeah. How do you get it? How do you tell that whole story in 90 seconds?
Be very concise. And it still takes forever. I mean, you just boil it down, and you boil it down, you boil it down, you test it, you show it, you know, we see what message is going where. We did focus groups on the meth project, and eventually you kind of, you know, just end up with these gems and stitch them together.
Tell us a little bit about the meth project, since we're talking about it, and it's already finished, and how you go about it, and how you started it, and what the story was.
Sure, it was called Life After Meth, and it was all about crystal meth.
Crystal meth. Okay.
So the message was that you could you can recover from crystal meth. Recovery is possible was our tagline. So the purpose of it was because so many people give up on their friends and relatives or on themselves because they feel like once they're addicted, there is no hope. This was to show them that there is hope. And so we went through a lot of different people and boiled it down to three. You know, a baseball coach in a small town in Arizona, a single mother in a trailer park in Missouri, and a young woman in Miami that had all gone really deep into addiction and, you know, near-death experiences. One guy had been stabbed, one guy had been a dealer, all sorts of problems, but then found a way to come back and become functioning members of society, happy, fulfilled lives.
So they're real people?
They're real people, yeah, 100% real.
And you find those real people through Drug Free America or through your client or what?
They would start the ball rolling, and I think for the meth one, I think everything we ended up getting was their contacts, but they give us leads and they give us facilities that we can call, and then people know people, so it's just a lot of detective work.
And are you flying all over the country all the time doing?
Yeah, which is part of the fun. I mean, it's a big part of what I like doing.
One of the things with the one on the drug free. that's going to be in Grand Central Station. You're going to show it how?
It's
Because I thought that was really interesting.
yeah, they've built there's like I guess like an alcove in Grand Central, and they've put up giant pill bottles. I think they're building them now.
Oh, pill bottles.
Yeah, like the pills. So,
right.
And I know there's going to be, as I understand it, monitors embedded in the bottles, one on the wall, and then different images of the people that we've talked to and facts and figures. So you're going to walk into kind of this immersive environment that's all about all this information done in an emotional way about
medicine abuse.
Medicine abuse.
Because
yeah.
this is something that's really common to everyone. Walking through Grand Central Station, we all have a little aspirin or whatever in our purse.
Right, and most people don't think twice about it. It's FDA approved, it's very, condoned, and, there's these terrible side effects, and there's all these ways that kids especially are abusing them in ways that parents don't even comprehend, and it's killing them, literally. I mean, it's the statistic. I mean, one of the statistics we saw is because of prescription drug abuse, drug deaths in America now supersede auto accidents as the #1 cause of accidental deaths.
Yeah, accidental. But with this, where your monitors and your pill bottles are, is a 12-minute documentary? Or do you show it with different ones?
I don't think that's going to be there. I think those are going to be the 90-second versions are all there. And the 12-minute one is going to live online, and I'm not sure where they're going to do it. It's going to be like an outreach thing. This is more like the expanded thing. So if you go to the medicine abuse site, it'll take you here, and then it'll lead you to other avenues.
But what are you doing? 12 minutes is pretty long for you when you're used to using 30 seconds, 60 seconds.
Right. Well, I've done long. I mean, I've done like a 22, or I did a feature. I produced one a while ago, so I've done the longer ones. But yeah, the 12 is nice though, because then you can take a slower pace. You're not cramming every message and taking out every pause and nuance. You can let it breathe.
How did you get into this? I mean, I think it's so fabulous that this is your main focus, is this kind of spreading awareness of social issues.
Yeah.
And it's so great. How did you get into it?
I got into movies right after high school and did a bunch of shorts of monsters and whatnot. And then, but I was taking all these classes in junior college at the same time that actually interested me. I wasn't interested in the film classes. I was taking like psychology and history. So as our projects, because I wanted to do both, I would do these documentaries on different things, maybe like dumping going on in East Palo Alto, or the history.
On your own, you found them?
Yeah, I found that one. I worked for the school newspaper, and then I found this story, and then we did that. Right. But those are the ones that just felt better to make. You're meeting real people. You're learning real concepts, and
you have to know how to deal with it.
Yeah.
You have to be really sensitive.
Yeah.
I know some of the social issues you've dealt with are trafficking, child trafficking, child hunger, and what else?
Poverty,
youth violence, right. Domestic violence, have you done any of that?
I've not yet, but I'd like to.
Yeah, you have to get into that.
Yeah.
That's really running rampant all over the world, and people don't want to face it. How do you find your clients? Or how do the clients find you?
I mean, I've worked, with a couple of companies since, for a while out here, and then as I do more work and put it out there, people tend to. I've been lucky, I think, because I'll make something. Like one of the big turning points for me was when I did the youth violence short for Slam Dance, and because of that, I had sort of been an employee for a bunch of different people, and I was able to put that out there and demonstrate that I could do a different kind of project, and that led right to the Meth Project and to other things.
Because you have other clients, you have music people, Interscope and Atlantic Records and Warner Brothers, and. Do they get interested in social issues, or is that just a totally different kind of?
This is new for me, but they were, because Interscope, came to a company, and the company came to me for Rise Against, for the Ballad of Hollis Brown.
Oh, Rise Against.
Yeah, so that was the track, and it was an Amnesty International project, a Bob Dylan cover. But it was
that's the one. Yeah, talk about that.
That was great. That's the most rewarding film experience maybe that I've ever had, just because of the way we did it and everything. And so Interscope, Rise Against. A whole line of people wanted to do something on farm poverty, because the song Ballad of Hollis Brown is about a farmer on the outskirts of town. Yeah, it's a really bleak, grim song, but it's beautiful. And so we took that, and then we couldn't figure out how to structure a doc shoot with the budget that we had of where we could fly to, because it's really difficult to go through Google and find like farms of
farm?
poverty and like call them, and no one wants to talk to you. Everyone's a little weird because who are you and all this stuff. So the only way that I figured out we could do it is just we scaled the crew down to just me and one other person, this girl that I'd worked with before, who I was the right kind of person for this.
This is for Ballad of Hollis Brown.
This is for Ballad of Hollis Brown, the music video. So we flew to Chicago, we shot the performance with Rise Against, and then we rented an SUV and we drove home to LA. And so over the course of the week...
Oh, that's what you did?
Yeah, so I built a whole editing system in the back of this four-wheel drive SUV. She drove.
And you're just filming.
We would stop and we'd film and we would eat at all these local dives and we'd talk to people. We'd tell everybody what we were doing. We'd ask for their help and we would tell them the route and they would tell us people, if they didn't know someone in town or if they themselves weren't connected, they'd guide us to someone. And so we sort of, with almost no plan whatsoever, other than the fact that I convinced them that we could do this, and we sort of hopscotched across from Chicago to LA, just finding all these places. It was awesome. We would just explore, and we'd see a road, and we'd get a feeling that maybe there's something back there. We would find a peacock farm, and
Is that right?
it's just the stuff we would find,
That sounds exciting, but the next thing that you did sound pretty exciting too, the fighter for the Olympics.
Yeah.
Tell us about that one.
So again, David.
How long is it?
That, I think, is only 3 minutes. Again, it's a music video. 3-4 minutes.
3 minutes for a music video.
Right.
So I'm saying MTA, and I should be saying MTV.
MTV, VMA. It gets real confusing with all the letters.
Okay, good.
But no, that was great.
So who was it? What was it?
Atlantic wanted to do something on John Orozco. because they wanted to do a video for the fighter, but they didn't want to do an obvious boxer or an obvious fighter. So. The commissioner at Atlantic had, on the same day they were trying to figure out who to do this on, had seen an article about this kid from the Bronx. The last person you would think would be a gymnast, who might at that point have been on the way to the Olympics. We didn't know at that time. He still had a lot of hurdles to go over.
Oh, you started before.
Yeah,
you started way
this
before.
was March when we did this. So he didn't even know. I mean, everyone, all the signs kind of pointed to him going, and we were hoping that the video might even help get some public support behind him. But yeah, it was great. He was just, John Orozco was coming back from Germany at the same time. I think Atlantic flew him home to the Bronx instead of to the Olympic Training Center just so we could do the video. Oh. So we met at the Bronx for 3 days. And then we just shot, I had come up with a bunch of stuff that we could shoot, and we just came up with all these different docu things there, showing his life, showing his family, showing how he interacts with people. And then from there, we went to the Olympic Training Center in Colorado Springs, which was incredible, because that's where Team USA trains. I mean, I didn't have any celebrity sightings. I was hoping to see Lolo Jones or Phelps or something, but...
But you had a great time.
Yeah, it was great.
And you made a great video. And you've been getting these awards and award nominations since you've been working.
Yeah, it's been
so congratulations.
Lucky. Thank you.
I'm so happy you came to visit us
thanks for
today.
having me.
Thank you. Don't go away. We'll be right back with artist Charles Christopher Hill. Hi, welcome back. We're at the Duke and Duke Art Gallery in West Hollywood. It's our location place. And I'm here with award-winning artist Charles Christopher Hill, who was born in Pennsylvania and raised in California. He earned an AA from East LA College and his BA and master's from UC Irvine. He's worked in many different mediums, and because of his superior work, he's been exhibited all over Europe, like France and Germany, Italy and England, as well as across the United States. And he's in collections of several prestigious museums. Charles?
Thank you so much.
Yes, yes. You had a residency in France and Turkey.
That was back in about, I think France was 1993 and Turkey was the year after, 1994, I believe.
What does it mean, a residency?
What does it mean? It means that I got one of the last individual National Endowment for the Arts prizes, and I think it was in 1992. And when I got the application, it said, if you would like to be in consideration for an artist in residence in a foreign country, there was a sheet, and it was all, it was a printed out sheet. Just take a pencil, or a pen, and write the country you'd like to be in residence in the top of the paper up just above the printed area in the border. And I wrote France. And
did you write Turkey too?
Well, Turkey's a different situation.
Oh, Turkey. Okay,
now, I'm first first. We're going to go to France.
Okay, let's go to France. But this is a national endowment from our...
The United States government
Right,
was the
okay.
last individual,
I
and
got
as
it.
far as as far as I know, not as far as I'm concerned, as much knowledge as I have, there haven't been any other individual artist grants since 1993 or 92.
So you said France, and then
Oh,
did they find you a place?
Well, how it works is they actually they had a whole network at the time. The United States government, the National Endowment, or whoever the cultural body may be,
Right. Whatever.
They have connections, and I stayed in the C. Douglas Dillon room at the Cité des Arts in Paris on the Seine, and supposedly it was a very auspicious place. I could look out my window directly, and I could see the Notre Dame Cathedral. I could look down and see the River Seine. Then if I went to the window and looked to the right, I could see the Tour Eiffel, and that was kind of it was good views.
And what did you do? Did you work?
I worked all the time.
Did you work in that place?
I worked in this little studio, the C. Douglas Dillon studio, the Cité des Arts, and I had one big room and a wall of windows.
How long does it last? How long is a residency?
Well, you see, that's the thing. The man asked me, "How long do you want to have that residency for?" I got a call. They called me up. "How long do you want to be there?" I said, "Well, gee, what?" He says, "You can go to this place, which is really nice, called La Napoule, and it was in the south of France, right next to Cannes. They actually have parties for the film festival.
Right
in
there,
this.
yeah.
It is a 1912 remake of a chateau, incorporating some real towers and battlements, and a rich American banker retired there. He wanted to become an artist, so he built his own, not a chateau, he built a castle with battlements and
a studio.
He had a great studio. He had like 12 or 15 bedrooms and bathrooms in the place.
Wow.
And it was right on the water. So the guy says I could stay there for 3 months. I said, "Well, 3 months." He says, "Well, we can also put you up in Paris for an additional 3 months." So the first 3 months was in Paris. Then I loaded up all my belongings, got on a train, and went to the south. And the train very conveniently stopped in the same little town. It was about 100 yards away from where I was going. I went in and had my next studio, which was half of a theater.
You had a fantastic residency.
That was a residence, and I started the paintings that I'm doing today, my stripe paintings.
Oh,
I
you
developed them in the 6 months that I was in the south of France.
Okay, let's start at the back. Your circle paint, we're starting at the end. We'll start now and go back. Because when I met you was in the 70s, and you were doing those stitched fabrics and pieces of paper, and they looked like they'd been buried in the ground and pulled up. They look like wonderful relics.
They were buried in the ground. They were pulled up. They were washed off.
Were they?
And they were pressed and everything you can imagine.
That's what they look like.
The trouble with those works is I was working at a little sewing machine, and I mean a little sewing machine. They're this big. And people said, "How did you get those big pieces of paper in that little?" Well, you roll it up, and you run it through a little roll, and you roll it the other way, and you only have a small area since you're running, and it was
was your mother a seamstress?
No, my mother wasn't a seamstress, but Mother had a sewing machine, and I used to play with it when I was a little kid on rainy days, when there was nothing else to do.
So those were about edges and things, and all the way through your work in the 80s when you were doing traditional painting, and the 90s when you had these kind of mysterious paintings, and we had edges and surfaces.
Well,
and now you're in Paris where you started the circles.
I started circles in Paris, and I started lines in Paris.
Lines, right.
Lines.
And where are they shown?
Where were they?
At the gallery, yeah. What gallery? They're at the Leslie
Sachs Contemporary in Bergamo.
That's there now.
They have a complete selection of everything from 1975 to 2012.
I know, that's fantastic. Okay.
My group show, you see, the group show is my older work, and it says Charles Christopher Hill and Group Show. The Group Show is my old work. It's not really a retrospective. It's just a few of the older works, and it doesn't really go into depth. But
so they have everything
they
there.
have a very, you get the idea. Well, getting back to those sewing
Go
pieces.
back.
Now, wait a minute.
Go back.
You got to remember that the sewing pieces were many different layers
Oh,
of color.
sewing,
The
yes.
sewn with the
okay.
machine. And so when I was, when I quit making the sewing, I had to quit making them. I was a little table, and all day, every day I'd get up and my back would hurt, my eyes would hurt from focusing at this short little area. And I decided, you know, I did this when I was 20 years old, probably up to about 30. And I'm 64 now, so I can't do this anymore. It was physically, even back in 1992, before I got the National Endowment, that's where I developed my line paintings, some of the circle paintings, because I had to take a wine box, a regular wine box, and I figured out how far it was, and I filled it full of pre-stretched canvases, and I took the canvases with me, and I spent 3 months developing all these works to have my ideas.
But so what influenced the lines and the circles?
Basically, getting back to, because I did a lot of things with cloth and tissues,
Yeah.
I saw an exhibition that was of Cuba textiles.
Oh, yes.
Diane Daniel was the curator. She put together this exhibition for a museum in Paris called the Musée Dapper. And I saw this great catalog. I think I saw it at Ned Evans' house. And I talked to her about that. She says, oh, I'll give you one of those catalogs for the exhibition.
And what is it composed of, the Cuba?
The Cuba textiles are made out of raffia. They're woven raffia. And they have these basic designs of sort of a lattice. But it's all broken up.
They're not dipped.
They're woven.
They're woven.
They're woven with the individual colors. And it's like a broken up lattice or grid, and it's all catty, and just somebody it looked like somebody couldn't continue a thought, or they were going back in. And I've actually made paintings after this Cuba textile. There's 2 of these pieces in the exhibition at Leslie Sachs.
That are influenced
Cuba,
by that, yeah.
And then I went to the lines, because I went from a grid, you know, up and down, and a grid, and I just took half of the grid away and came out with lines. And that's what directly led.
That led to the circles. And what is a mysterious surface? There's supposedly hidden light. Is it layers of stuff?
Well, I start out with my paintings black paint on an unprimed canvas, and then I start adding layers of clear medium and paint, and building it up so that the paint is not only on the canvas, but it's in the medium as I build it up, so that light can go through and reflect.
So it's reflecting.
Yes.
And are there edges again? Are we
you will see the edge. If you sneak around the side, you will see that my original paintings, the stripes or the paint didn't go to the edge. Now it goes over the edge, and I prefer the look that it is now. But to get it all the way to the edge, of course, I don't tape it off. I only tape it so it doesn't hit the back of the canvas and it won't stick to the wall. But you can see the edges if you go around.
Before we leave, and we only have a couple minutes left, and you said Turkey is another thing.
Turkey was a residency that I had through my gallery in Venice, Italy.
How long was it? How long were you there?
I was supposed to be there for a month or 2, but unfortunately I was delayed getting there. I was on an airplane, and we got delayed into first I didn't leave on time, and then when I went there I got caught in a big thunderstorm in New York City, which made me miss all these sort of connecting flights on Turkish Airlines. But the best part was that I had a taxi ride from Izmir, Turkey to the village, and the taxi ride was 6 hours.
Oh my gosh, you're kidding.
6-hour taxi ride.
Did you ever get to Istanbul while you were there?
On the way home, we flew out of Istanbul, and it was fun. We stayed at the Palace Hotel.
Turkey is a beautiful, beautiful country.
And you've been there?
I have been there many times. It's very beautiful. And I'm so glad that you told us about that, because I think some of the work that you used to do with the crosses reminded me so much when you were talking about the Greek Orthodox Church, because the crosses were like that.
Well, it's not really crosses. What I used were a multiplication and addition symbols.
But they were crosses to me.
You know, a lot of people say that, but they're so my little squares and T's pluses are so equal that in any event, it's in the eye of the beholder.
It's in the eye of it, and I have a small one at home, and I love it. So thank you, Charles. And thanks for watching us, the Charles Christopher Hill. And thanks for watching us today on the Joan Quinn Profiles. Keep writing to JAQUINN1@AOL.com. And we'll see you next time on the Joan Quinn Profiles.